If you've been part of the Fortnite community, you might know the conversation that took place last week about Fortnite and collabs, because originally, apparently, Fortnite was not interested in doing collabs. More specifically, Donald Mustard was not interested in doing collabs. He had his opinion swayed, and the game changed to be the monster that it is today. So that got me thinking, because there was a lot of discourse around that. Do you think Fortnite would have been as successful if it weren't for collabs? What if they actually went with the original route and actually just, hey, said no to the Avengers Endgame collab or Avengers Infinity War collab? We never got any of the Naruto events or anything collab related in Fortnite. And today I'm going to give my thoughts. I want to take a look at the Fortnite community's opinion as well, because it's one of those things where I have a take on it, but I'm open for having my mind changed on this one. But regardless, it makes for a very interesting conversation. Hello everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with many YouTube channels. So my initial thought when I think about this: would Fortnite have been as successful if it weren't for collabs? I point to this a lot on my channel, where we talk a lot about the state of the game dying. Oh my god, we need this season's one of the worst played seasons of all time. We talk about that constantly, and what I typically rebut with is, we've been hearing the same thing since 2018. Every single season has been the worst season of all time, and Fortnite's losing its player base. People aren't interested. All of a sudden, Fortnite's back. Fortnite has its great seasons, and Fortnite never actually goes away. I don't know if I want to apply that same logic to this question. Well, it could work, don't get me wrong, and Fortnite initially blew up before it actually had its collaborations just for the gameplay. It was so unique. It was a battle royale done way better than the initial battle royales. It brought a brand new mechanic, and it took over the entire world. The question is, would it have maintained that control over the world? I don't think so. But again, I'm open to being wrong on this one, because how many times, like I've been talking about, how many times have we constantly said, oh, Fortnite's going downhill. If Fortnite continues to do this, they're going to lose its player base. What if it's just another one of those cases? But I don't know if, again, that really applies. There's one thing that's for sure though. Fortnite would have absolutely still blown up. It would have became a huge game. It would have still taken over the world. The only question is, if it weren't for collaborations, would it have stuck around? Again, it came out at the perfect time. It revolutionized gameplay. It had the brand new building mechanic. Everybody could play on whatever they want. It was free. But being a household name for as long as it is, I think it was only because of the collaborations. How many people do you know that started playing Fortnite because of a collaboration? How many people do you know that know of Fortnite because of a collaboration? I could be wrong about this, but it feels like every time Fortnite really goes like mega viral, especially outside of the Donald Mustard days, was when they had a giant collaboration. Things like, oh, Naruto's coming to Fortnite. Do you remember how massive it was when Family Guy ended up coming to the game? Things like that. I think Fortnite would have been very successful. It would have been a great game. It would have went down a great road, and it would have been awesome, okay? And I probably would have stuck it out. Actually, I know I would have stuck it out. But I think the collaborations just took it to that next step. Remember when Infinity War first came in? That's the collaboration that kind of kickstarted this entire talking point that we've been talking about in the previous video, and the Fortnite community has been talking about a little bit. It was the initial Infinity War collaboration that they were so kind of against doing. That was one of the biggest things that they've ever done, is bring in Thanos. How monumental that was, and they're still capturing that to this day. Again, the ones that come to mind are things like Naruto, Family Guy. Look at a Simpsons season now. I pointed this out in my last video. Long story short, my wife has never been interested in playing Fortnite. She said she would play a Simpsons season because she likes the Simpsons. That has probably happened to a significant amount of people that I can't even begin to like put a number out there for you. I think that, again, it would have been very successful. It would have been a great game, and it would still be around. Certainly wouldn't die. I know everybody likes to talk about that, but it wouldn't have gone anywhere. It's just, I don't know if it would have been the biggest game of all time. Like I said, I'm open to having my mind change on this one. It's not something that I'm kind of sitting on. It's a very weird but interesting topic to talk about. So I wanted to ask the Fortnite community how they ended up feeling about this. I ended up posting this over on X. With all the talk about Mustard and the Russo brothers, it got me thinking, do you think Fortnite would have been as successful today if they never started doing collaborations? Drop your thoughts below, and I will include some in an upcoming video. Thank you for your time. And for everybody who did reply, thank you very much. I appreciate you being here. If you'd like to join the conversation, follow me over on X at Clen YouTube, or you can check the description, the link tree at the top of the description, or you can find the direct link over to X within the description down below as well. Like and subscribe if you have not already, guys. Let's get into what everybody else had to say about this. Eternalist had this to say: I think the game's popularity would dip significantly because collaborations are constantly bringing new people to the game. Without them, it would be harder for Epic to get new players. Yeah, you know what? I actually didn't. I should have thought about that because the collaborations are something that is continuing to help Fortnite. Like I just mentioned with my wife, she's going to play a Simpson themed season. A girl who I couldn't get to play Fortnite for 8 years now. Simpsons come in. She's like, oh, that's interesting. You know, I think it's cool. I like the fact that more people are going to continuously come to the game. And more people absolutely do come to the game because of collaborations, and then people stay for the game that Fortnite is. I think it's been a great thing, and that's a very good point to bring up that I didn't think of. Atomic had this to say. Yes, because they would have had funny season themes that reference movies, I definitely see it being better. The only thing is, I think it won't be as known as it is today, but really close. I'll be surprised how relevant it would or won't. Again, I still think that it would have been a very successful game. That's an interesting take, though, to say that they would have still done things that reference movies, because look what they did back in Chapter 1, Season 3 with John Wick. That's the first one that comes to mind. I'm sure if they never ended up doing anything Avengers-related or Marvel-related, we would have had a lot of skins that look like different IPs and function like different IPs. We've had some LTMs and some mythic weapons. They would have found a way around it, but the problem is they couldn't then advertise it and saying, oh my god, Avengers Endgame is coming out. Here we go. This is a collaboration with Fortnite and you can play as the Chitauri. They wouldn't be able to do that. They wouldn't be able to market that. It would be fun, and that's why Fortnite I still think would have been successful, because they would find a way to bring all of these cool things. Like we would have had something like a Captain America shield, right? Something like an Infinity Gauntlet in an LTM. I just don't think they would have been able to capture all of those new players that they got playing the game. Emmanuel had this to say, I don't know if you're still taking tweets, but here's my take. Fortnite would have still been successful since it was the gameplay and graphics that made it popular in the first place. Collabs just added something more to the experience. The question isn't, though, would it have been successful, because that's without question. I'm not willing. There is no way, and I know people love to talk about this game falling off. There's no chance it would have fell off, okay? If you could have games like Apex, games like Warzone still having their play base, and I'm not talking crap about those games. They're great games. It's just not to the level of Fortnite. Fortnite would have stuck around, okay? The building mechanic is phenomenal. But what made it popular in the first place, what Emmanuel said, is completely correct. The gameplay, the graphics, the default dance. You could dance in this Battle Royale game. It was goofy. It was fun. It was a brand new experience that people haven't played before, and it was free. So it would have been successful. It's just, would it have been as successful? Tater had this to say, collaborations 100% saved this game from falling into irrelevance. Thanos coming to the game made waves throughout the gaming community and showed players Fortnite wasn't just another BR with a gimmick. Later collabs showed people nothing was impossible with the game. There's a reason their most liked tweets, Instagram posts, etc. are all collab announcements. There's a reason their biggest event was a collab event. People's favorite artists, characters, and franchises colliding inside Fortnite is what makes it Fortnite alongside the core gameplay. I don't think Fortnite would be dead without collabs, but it would be at the same level as DAYZ is right now. I don't know what that is. Let me look it up. See, here's the problem with that. I don't even know. I don't even know what Days is personally. Maybe I need to look into that. Maybe I need to check it out. Maybe I'm just uncultured here, but hey, I think it makes the point, right? Collabs are one massive piece to the puzzle. Okay, that's a toughie. That's a toughie because when you say the game would have fell into irrelevance, I do disagree with that. Unless you want to say irrelevance, it depends, like, I know, like, you can dive in more to it, but what do you mean by irrelevance? Is it, like, irrelevant in the world of gaming or irrelevant when it comes to society in general? When it comes to just the regular population knowing about Fortnite, they might remember the word Fortnite, but they wouldn't be, like, the big hit that it is right now. Everybody under the sun knows Fortnite, right? In that sense, it would have fallen into irrelevance, but it would always been one of those games that's just out there. If you are a regular gamer, if you like video games, you would know Fortnite. So that's a little bit tough for me, but I do agree with the boost that collaborations did have on the game. There is no question about that. It's a very good point, being like their most liked tweets are all collab announcements. I would imagine that's completely accurate. And I don't really exactly see anything Fortnite original bypassing that. I would imagine their next big announcements are also going to be collaborated. So it is a good point. It's just the one irrelevance thing is where I'm a little bit stuck on. PBJ had this to say, wouldn't be where it is, but would exist and have a good player base, I'm sure. Very basic point, but it gets a point across. So this is essentially what I agree with personally. Sonic User had this to say, whether you hate collabs or not, I think the Russos saved this game from impending doom. Without collabs, Fortnite wouldn't be as popular as it is today. Say you want about certain collabs in Fortnite, but in my opinion, collabs saved the game. This I do disagree with. There is no way that this game would have had its impending doom. The building mechanic is too great. Too many people enjoyed it. Too many people liked the Battle Royale that it was. This game would have not fallen off. It's just, it might have not been as popular. Let's continue on to Rising FX and what they had to say. A game doesn't thrive off of cosmetics. It's about bringing what the community wants. Throughout the whole of Chapter 1 and most of Chapter 2, the community was a lot happier then, since I think flooding the game with collabs and intertwining them with the storyline can be negative. I understand the storyline community. That makes sense. They have been consistent in what they want, and that's a whole different topic of conversation though. But the community was not happy in Chapter 1 or Chapter 2. There were a select few seasons where they were happy. OG Fortnite, like at the beginning of Chapter 1 when there actually wasn't a storyline. They were happy around Season 9 for a little bit. Chapter 2, happy, not happy. Chapter 2, Season 2, a lot of people were happy. Chapter 2, Season 4, people were happy. Chapter 2, Season 3, people were happy. Chapter 2, Season 7. So I don't think we should be pointing back to bringing what the community wants, because we've had issues in the past with that in Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. People like to look back on that like it was great, but it was worse in a lot of ways for Epic Games and the community. Keithy had this to say, yes, but definitely not as strong as it is now. In my opinion, collabs themselves aren't what people don't like. It's filling the battle pass, specifically tier 100 and the bonus skins with collabs. Keeping them to the shop would be much better, and they could still do the gameplay too. Yeah, that's a little bit of a topic for another time. I agree with that. I don't like collaborations being in the battle pass either. I still think we should have 2 battle passes, but I think a lot of us agree that it still would be popular. It's just not as popular as it is now, like it was said in that tweet. But guys, let me stop you for just a second. With these videos, we have been advertising our supporter creator code. I ask that if you do not have a supporter creator code that you are currently using in the item shop, you please consider using my code Clen. I'm grinding on YouTube as hard as I can to provide for my family. I want to do this full time. I want to have everybody live happy, and you guys have been helping me out with that. So if you could use my code Clen, that would mean a lot to me. Thank you everybody who's listening to this and using the code. I appreciate it. Let's get into the next reply and what Ram had to say. I think it would have been around Apex's level. You know, successful with its own dedicated player base who just play for it. Whereas Fortnite pulls people in from all genres like music, rhythm games with a Fortnite festival, and then when a big collab releases like Mortal Kombat, those fans would try Fortnite. That's a really good way to put it. I do think it would be somewhere around Apex's level, maybe a little bit bigger than that. I think Fortnite would be like right up. I could be wrong about this, but I still do think that Fortnite would be the most popular game. It just wouldn't be the cultural phenomenon that it is. But then again, maybe I'm just thinking that because Fortnite keeps taking over. But maybe if we were put in a situation where here 8 years later playing the same game with the same updates, maybe I'd feel differently. But yeah, I do agree with that. That's probably one of the best posts we've taken a look at today. Zap had this to say, I don't think it would have continued to be as mainstream as frequently, but certainly wouldn't be dead like a lot of others say. It would probably be more like the lines of Overwatch, Apex, etc. in terms of popularity. Besides, OG 2023 was the biggest the game was with no collab. Yeah, that's true. But that was a special event we all did see coming at some point. But that is a good point. Just like the other tweet that we're talking about, like Overwatch, Apex, it would have just been another one of these games in rotations for a lot of players to play. Let's continue on to Planarium, what he had to say. Not necessarily. Fortnite didn't get popular in Chapter 1 because of collaborations. It got popular because it was a fun game that did crazy and wacky things. If Thanos never happened, then people would still talk about the first live event or Kevin the Cube. That's true. That's very true. People, and yeah, it's very important to note, the first collaboration with Avengers didn't make Fortnite as successful as it was today. It already took over the world. Everybody was already playing it. That just boosted it. That made it so like the whole world was like, all right, this is big. And then everybody kind of stuck around with Fortnite, and everybody, don't get me wrong, that brought new players, but Fortnite took over the world by itself. I also think that that is a very, very good point. They would have continued the live events. Would it have been as popular? I don't know. Probably. But you can't beat something like the Travis Scott concert, right? Collaborations allowed them to hit a new level. CR Plays had this to say, not at all. Not only in terms of earnings in general, but the entire point of the game is that the 0 point is the center of all universes, including, of course, the collab ones. That's the center of Fortnite's storyline as a whole. So you're saying it wouldn't be nearly as popular. I can definitely get behind of not having any earnings in general. Like I can't imagine how much less money they would make. But how would that affect development, which is interesting. They'd have to like really, really kick up what they do with skin quality. But then again, like other games do skins just fine. Maybe I'm just overthinking that a little bit, but I mean, that is true about the 0 point. I don't know if the 0 point in the storyline around that. I get that it is the center of all universes, the Omniverse. They told the story in the fantastic way. I just don't exactly know how much that relates, but maybe I'm just an idiot. If you guys want to talk more about the original collaboration, we just made a video about that, talking about Donald Mustard, the Russo brothers, what the original plan was for Fortnite. You can check that out right here. I'd love to have you over there. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Take care, guys.